Hello, I'm Marilyn Hamilton, and I'm so delighted to welcome you to this version of Interviews from the Balcony. It's November the 18th, 2020, and I'm delighted to introduce a guest in our interview today. I have been working with the Co-Creating Europe and the Caravan of Unity in the last number of months, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Sue Cooper. Now, we were exploring Europe, but I discovered that there were people and connections in the United Kingdom. And since I now live in Findhorn, Scotland, it was wonderful to see that there was someone so close to home. Sue is located in Nottingham in the UK. Some of you might rightly connect that with the story of Robin Hood. And what interested me in Sue's background is she's the founder of Moments of Mass Mindfulness. She calls this MOMM, M-O-M-M for short. And as many of you know, in working with the IntegralCity, I'm so interested in the master code of care. So Sue and I discovered in conversation that we were both interested in caring communities. And with the meditations I've been doing in the last while around islands of calm in our very VUCA world, I was so intrigued to find out that Sue had this vision for moments of mass mindfulness at the scale of a city. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Sue. Welcome, Sue.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for inviting me to join you today and to share a little of the journey of me, Mom, and more.
Yes, you have a special gift for noticing the brilliance and possibilities and potential in words that I also really enjoy. So could you maybe start out and tell us a little bit about your background, which I also find intriguing?
Oh, yes, thank you. I started my career post-school. I didn't do terribly well. I didn't shine at school because I didn't understand it. In professional football, in football administration, which I loved, but it wasn't offering me enough. And I found my way into nursing, and many people said I would never be a nurse because I talked too much and I was too rebellious. And so what I've learned is you don't actually ever really say to me you can't do it, because the determination to do something if it felt in alignment. So I started my nursing, and what I love so much about nursing was where I wasn't successful at school in the chalk and talk. What I learned was if someone explained it to me, then showed me how to do it, and then I did it, and then I went back and wrote about it because I linked it to the experience, it made sense. So my whole life of nursing was one of care and compassion. I started my nursing in 1973. It was the beginning of the change from matron to people having numbers, depending on your ranking, which again I found very strange. But it was nursing was in evolution at the time, and it was such a beautiful thing to do because there was making a positive difference to somebody, particularly at the time where we didn't have the same amount of medications, same amount of technology by any means. But what we did have was we had a lot of time, and we had a lot of time to sit and really activate the holistic model. That person wasn't an ill person in a bed. They were a person who were interconnected to themselves, to their work, to their families, to their community, to the wider world. And that was very much at the heart of nursing. Probably still is, but it's become more technological and more systems driven. That's no bad thing. I love the health service, but I feel that something throughout the change has got lost. And I believe that's the model of active participation, of self-care, of what can I do for me and how can I be facilitated to help within my own healing journey, rather than the going to a health centre to see the doctor, because over here the gatekeeper is the GP. But in actual fact, it's not a health centre, it's more of an illness centre. So how can we move that beautiful model that has evolved into one of that health and well-being centres. So my vision that I had, it was a dream in 2016, was, and I had to wake up and I had to write it down, to co-create in community holistic healing hubs throughout the whole globe. The whole world is like, okay, write it down, you know, in that dozy state. And then I was shown the 9 people that I was to invite, and people who live close to me in Nottingham, who are in the holistic framework and who also are in science as well, and asked them to a meeting to see how this could manifest. Wrote it all down, went back to sleep, woke up in the morning, went, oh, okay, I'll do that. And those 9 people all came to a meeting. They were all available on that day the following week. And from that, 3 of us said we could do this. The others said we will support, but we haven't got the time to do what it would take to do it. But we're enamored by it, but let us help more on the periphery and be there for you. But you drive it. So that's why I call it co-founding, even though at the very beginning it wasn't called MOMM, it was called Unplugged Space, providing a space where people could move into a place of an island of calm within their community, and mindfulness teachers would be available, again, all gifted, free, donation if people wanted to, so there was equity for all in a community, so people could meet the mindfulness people. And then they could move on to their journey, because the mindfulness people then, there's so many of us in Nottingham, could fill their classes because the people have linked and they've experienced it and they felt the trust, and if they wanted to pursue a journey, they'd met each other. So yeah, so that's how it started.
That's how it started. Let me do a little bit of a rewind, because I think people would like to know that in addition to your nursing background, you also stepped into places that made you very open to the integrative healing. Can you share us a little bit about your Ayurvedic journey and also your heart coherence? Those are really important, I think, for people to appreciate the investment that you've made in well-being.
Thank you. Yes. I realized that when I was going through my overwhelm, and that was because so many structures had been put into my working practices, and rules and regulations that didn't make sense, and being that little rebellion, it's like I can't be creative within this. So I became ill, and very ill, and so I went to see the doctor, and he said, beautiful man, said, let me put you on antidepressants. No, I don't need antidepressants. I'm not depressed. I'm just sick. Anyway, a friend, it's always a friend, comes forward and said, let me help you. I burst out crying when I went to see her one day. I said, I'm not very well. She said, let me give you this book. And it was a book written by the gentleman who discovered, or who wrote about Ayurveda, called Aveda, you know, the Aveda products based on Ayurveda. So she asked me if I would take this book and borrow it. It was a coffee table book. It was a massive book. And I said, well, I can't put this in my pockets. But anyway, I started to look at it. And even if I wasn't looking at it, if I held it, I felt very calm. And then somebody else gave me a book of Deepak Chopra. They said, this is the book that you need to look at, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. So with those 2 books, I started to, when my mind was settling, started to look at them. And it was like, I have to go and find Deepak Chopra. This man is amazing. I need to learn more about Ayurveda, and I need to know more about meditation. I need to know more about spirituality, and I need whatever they've offered. So I found my way to California, found him, found his amazing team, and I trained as an Ayurvedic lifestyle instructor. And what's beautiful about Deepak in every shape and form, I mean, he's a visionary, but he's a medical doctor, so he's grounded in medicine. He was an endocrinologist, or still is an endocrinologist, which is the hormonal system. So he talks at length about how we have all these various hormones and how we can activate those through the chakra system. And when we are in a balance and alignment, we can keep our immune system at its most optimum and do what the body's there to do. So it all made sense. This is the perfect model for self-care. It's the perfect model for integrating the human nature, the inner, with the outer world of nature, because we are all one, and taking what nature is, the bounty that the nature gives us, into us in every shape or form, be it through the air, the water, the breath, and you know, the food, whatever, it's all there for us. So there's no separation. And I came to realize that this duality had become a problem for me, and I think for others. So to bring that into unity. So I learned that. Then whilst I was there, so that was in 2012, 2014, I went on a journey back to California to do some updating and to do some more immersion in Ayurveda, Panchakarma they call it, 10 days of being immersed in this, learning it, but also having it experienced as well, and massages. It's beautiful. And then Deepak ran a 4-day course called Spiritual Solutions. And on that course, he co-created it with a lady called Sarah McLean, who had set up the Chopra Center years ago with David Simon and Deepak Chopra. And I fell in love with her. Her presentation was so beautiful. And she taught my language, and she was so divinely feminine. I said to her, do you ever come to England? I'd love to know more. She goes, sure, yes, I do. And I'm coming over for the summer solstice in 2015. Why don't you come and meet me? So she became a friend, and one of the greatest supporters of this movement, because she clearly understands the power of meditation. She trained me as a meditation and mindfulness teacher. She's got a very active academy based in Sedona. She's now in Santa Barbara, but of course it's virtual now. And from those connections of nursing, 45 years of nursing in various settings, and with the Ayurvedic lifestyle, and now the meditation and mindfulness, all intermeshed, to use your term, Marilyn, interweaved. It made absolute sense that to work in community, to work in service to the world, to co-create these compassionate communities, not by telling anybody anything, but by simply showing that there is a wider perspective that the medical fraternity has lost. There is a huge swathe of social prescribing now, in which case the complementary stuff, as they call it, but I call it the integration model, which is where your IntegralCity found great resonance in my heart. So as we were doing the first mass meditation, so for people to find each other within a holistic framework, you need to first meet each other. So we came together as a group of 3 with these supporters to not only run meditation, but for people to find each other in the holistic framework, to run a mass meditation in our town centre, so that people could come together. So the idea was everybody meditated in the centre of town, in the old market square. So it's the Square, Old Market. The holistic practitioners would have marquees and tents all the way around this central area where we're coming to do a mass meditation. And there was nothing to buy, but there was everything to experience, from mindfulness going on throughout the day, with practitioners from around the world actually came. Various projects to do with nature. We had people talking about the bees and about the worms and everything, and it was for children as well. And then all the holistic practitioners, many of them had about 40 tents. People could come and experience a 15-minute whatever. And on that day, something shifted. We had about 700-800 people come to meditate. Wow. And what we did, and Sarah McLean came over from America to lead it. I mean, you know, I'll come. Up on the big stage, it was so incredible. But what we did was, when people were meditating, we realized that to really let go, you need to be in a safe, supported environment. And doing that outside in the market square on a Saturday, which is a bigger shopping area, we asked the volunteers, would they become community angels? So they had these bright orange t-shirts. Would they each hold a long ribbon, which we cut in all the different chakra colors, of about 6 feet? And then when it came to holding the space, would they all circle everybody who was there, and then hold a ribbon so that the space became sacred? People could let go and close their eyes, knowing that they're being held. Excuse me, I just get a little moved here. Yeah. And that, not realizing the impact of that, was phenomenal, because people could just let go. And what happened, it turns out, because we've got it on video, is the shopkeepers have said to us afterwards, what happened at 12:10 on Saturday? Because our coffee shops were full, our shops were full, and then people just disappeared. And when we look at the video, there were 7, 8, 10 deep behind the community angels. People who came, and in the silence, they came to be part of something which they were, I would say, magnetized to attend. And then when we let go of the meditation finished, it lasted for an hour, all in all, meditation conversations. Everything just opened, and we moved from, I believe, and many have said this, a city of competition, of scarcity, but these are my clients, these are my patients, to one of collaboration. And the holistic practitioners met each other. They knew each other, but they really got to know each other during that day. And we share, and we've set up many groups, and people come, and we keep ourselves buoyed up with our own energy by doing this in these Zoom groups or groups within libraries. So it's not gone away.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. I know I asked you about the heart coherence, and you skipped over that part, but I can feel it in your telling the story that would be something I imagine emerged in the sacred space that you created in the old market square. Would that be a correct assumption, that you really have that kind of energetic coherence there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what happened from that was interesting, because I was asked then to, for the following year, we didn't run it in Nottingham. Sorry, we ran it in Nottingham, but we, as what we call the Unplugged Space team, didn't. But I was asked by somebody who they knew in Bristol, would I go down to Bristol and talk, would I be part of a team in Bristol who wanted to do this in their city at the same time? So another group came in to do Nottingham. And I went down to Bristol, and we ran it there outside in one of their parks at the same time, interconnected, but obviously not through technology, through the non-local field. And 3, 4 people at that Bristol one said, I have loved this so much. I see the potential here. I'd like to do it in my town. Would you help? Yeah, sure. But what actually happened was, what happened was, if you could do something in 3 or 4 or 5 towns, you could do it everywhere, because you have to put an infrastructure in place to do that. So I was fortunate that I had a little legacy from my grandfather, and this is what this is for. And there was a beautiful consultant who came forward, who was a tech whiz. And in the meanwhile, HeartMath had heard, HeartMath in the UK had heard about what we were doing, because we'd started to become tech savvy and we were putting our stuff out on the internet. And the CEO, Gavin Andrews from the HeartMath at UK, said, I'd like to come up and meet you, because I don't understand what this is about, but it's about heart coherence. Said, yes, it is. Come on up. So he came up, we had lunch, we talked about what this is. And I said, why don't you come into the market square, the Om Square, and feel what happened 18 months ago? He'd said, yeah, sure. And we walked into the square, and it was like people had been planted, and they hadn't, but people kept coming up and saying, oh, I remember that day, this made all the difference. So nothing was contrived, it just happened. And Gavin felt something. He said that we need to be involved in this. This is incredible. And then he spoke to the gentleman, Roland and Howard in the California, and said, this is very interesting. Maybe we can do something. And they developed an app, and they were wanting to bring it into consciousness. So when we came to May 2019, we did, the whole 2019, we did it in collaboration with HeartMath. And they were monitoring the heart coherence through their app and through their device, and looking at the coherence of the earth through the resonance. Roger Nelson from the Global Resonance, maybe I haven't got these words right, but they look at the earth magnetic field, yes. and they can see the magnitude of what peace does. So yeah, and then so that was May 2019. So it grew into this huge global group, thousands and thousands of people from around the world. And we were doing it at the same time. So in May, we all did a piece. We went into a monastery, a beautiful place, which is on very sacred ley lines. It's a portal. And we activated, and then we amplified. And we felt something. It was so incredible, as did the HeartMath people. We did it at the same time. I mean, there was so much power that the app, I believe, couldn't actually contain the amount of power that was generated. So we replicated this again in September, and I was asked by the HeartMath people to come to London. Howard Martin flew in to do some training, and we did on Peace Day in September, we did a peace wave, and we said, wherever you are in the world, we had it all Facebook Lived and Zoomed and everything.
Yeah.
But wherever you are in the world at 12 midday at your time, let's create a peace wave. And then again, that was monitored, and that had a huge impact. And so, sorry, I've got some somebody.
Oh, you have some construction going on.
I'm sorry,
still,
yes, the decorators decided to dig a hole in the ceiling. So it's seeing and feeling the feeling that when a group of people come together, what is generated and what is empowered, and it becomes incredibly creative, and then people start to go on their own journey. So what happened with COVID was, instead of it being this growing macro out into the globe, it then needed and had to come back in. So I ended up not in these huge monasteries and in London in these amazing events. I was in my daughter's bedroom in a corner on my computer for the 2020 MOMM, doing it virtually on Zoom. And I'd only been on Zoom for about 2 weeks. I just took this leap of faith that this must happen, because each May, it's Mother's Day, it's MOMM Day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we started this, we were linking with Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK, bringing in the awareness of mind, body, spiritual health. And as mental health awareness proceeded, the second week of May, the conversations were starting. When we became global, we found out through the Americas that, well, this is Mother's Day, this Sunday that you're doing it, it's Mother's Day. Whoa, this is MOMM, all the mums, we can bring in the energy of the divine feminine, because every being on this earth is brought through a mother. You can't come to earth unless you come through a mother. So it's celebrating of the mothers, and it's celebrating of the divine feminine, not in any way to overstep the sacred masculine, but moving into a world of greater balance, and the heart-based coherence is based on the qualities of courage and heart-based resonance of care and compassion. So the whole thing just linked so beautifully through divine creation.
So we go from Mother Earth to our mother regions, to our mother cities, our mother communities, our mother markets, and have this beautiful connection that started with mindfulness awareness and well-being, and holding the possibility for that. You sound like you're much more contagious than any COVID virus, in a very positive way. So Sue, I wish we had more time today. We'll do this another time as well, but I wondered if I could invite you to lead us in a short meditation. And then after the meditation, I'll make sure people have ways to link up with you as well. And we'll, of course, be having more conversations. So could I ask you to lead us in a meditation?
Please. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And what's coming forward to me, the 4 words that came forward just before the meditation in May 2019 with HeartMath, which was awake, aware, activate, and amplify. So we'll simply just use those words as anchors for this little meditation. So let's find let's find a position that is comfortable, and realizing that the word well-being, well meaning comfort, and being is in the present moment. So if we find comfort in the present moment, we settle in. So let's find that awakening within. And the way to do this is, I invite you, if you should like to close your eyes, to take the major sense of sight within, and following the breath. Breathing naturally, but breathing in this moment of awakeness that we're doing this beautiful meditation, in awareness of the heart. So let's bring ourselves so that we feel the breath entering the body through the nose or the mouth, ideally through the nose, and feeling the chest rise. And then the chest fall as we breathe out. Make it a natural breath. But we breathe with this beautiful awareness that as we breathe in the air around us, and we breathe out the breath into the air. So it's where breath becomes air, the interconnectivity of the awareness of the universal flow of the air flowing into us through the breath as we breathe out consciously. And moving down into the belly, relaxing the belly so we can take a longer, slower, deeper breath in. The chest rises and the belly rises. And then we become aware of the belly falling, the chest falling, and fully exhale, tucking the belly into the back to allow the natural breath to expand. So we're activating, in this moment, we're activating our vagus nerve, which is connected within the diaphragm. And this brings the body from fight, flight, the stress response, into one of relaxation, rest and digest. So stay with a long, slow, natural in and out breath. Make it even if we can. So maybe breathing in for the same count as we breathe out. And I invite you to do this with your attention on the heart space. HeartMath calls this heart lock-in meditation. We breathe in and we breathe out without a space in between, so we flow the breath. Bringing balance to the mind, body. Bringing the vagus nerve into activation and therefore bringing all of us into coherence. Do this with the attention on the heart. And once you've found your flow breath, let the count go and simply breathe in and out with your attention on the heart. Consciousness resides in the place of stillness. Consciousness is still. We create the energy wave which will activate within ourselves. So in this place of the heart space, I invite you to ask yourself silently, what is my heart's desire? What is my heart's desire? What do I wish to manifest within and without? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? And the last question is, how can I serve? We're not seeking answers, we're simply asking the questions, and we're planting that seed in the center of the heart to allow it now to rest. And we rest in stillness for another minute, allowing that to drop into the heart and be in conscious awareness. I'll watch the time for a minute. And let us now start to become aware of our body, the outline of our body in the place here and now, and expand behind your closed eyes, aware of the space around you, holding you. And for a moment, place a smile on the lips and make the last breath within this meditation a long, slow breath with a smile, taking in the inner warmth into yourself. And on the out breath, radiating out to everybody in this world and everything in this world, as if you're enveloping the whole world in this consciousness, and then bringing it back into yourself. Stay within. Notice how you feel. Feel the feeling of stillness. And then as we energize by wiggling our fingers and our toes, and then rubbing our hands together, start to move a little. And then placing our hands prayer position on our heart space, resting the thumbs against the breastbone. Take one more breath and feel the chest, feel the heart expand. And then breathe out with a collective sigh through the mouth. And go. And then when you're ready, slowly, slowly, slowly open your eyes. And then we greet each other with a namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah, very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, it's simple. This is what I'm learning. I'm a work in progress, like us all. And when I move into the awake and then become aware, activate and amplify, and then come back into self again, and then do this. The remembering is the key, but then doing it in a collective, doing it one-on-one, and then doing it in a collective is eminently powerful. And it's could I just read a quote out which is really kind of at the heart. It's by Willis W. Harman, The Global Mind Change, The Promise of the 21st Century. And
I was inspired by him as well, so please do.
Throughout history, the really fundamental changes in society have come about not from dictates of governments and the results of battles, but through the vast number of people changing their minds. By deliberately changing the internal image of reality, people can change the world.
Beautiful, beautiful, Sue. That is such a perfect quote to just hold us in the sacred space that you created and carry it forward for the day, I think. I just want to thank you so much for using the inspiration for the meditation, because all of those words are interwoven in some way in the IntegralCity and the Master Code of Care. In fact, if you look on my business card, I call myself an activator, spelled AQ for all quadrants when I'm thinking about the integral model. So an amplification is exactly how I tell people, follow the energy, find it first, and then amplify it. So you've demonstrated the most beautiful way that we can do this for ourselves. And now with this interview being recorded, I can share it with those in our mighty network. And I will also give them the links to mommworld.org, and they can connect with you and the other events that you have organized, because I believe you have more coming up in 2021 for two Mother's Days. You've got the Mother's Day in the UK, which comes in March, I think, and then the one
March the 14th.
And then the one in the rest of the world, which is in May.
May the 9th. Yes. And
Yes.
Marilyn, thank you for this opportunity. I'm really appreciative that we find each other, and then being given the opportunity to activate and amplify is from your heart to my heart, and to everybody else's heart. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue.